Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the year again. The latest Tom Cruise movie is coming out. Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning, Part 1. The fact that I'm calling it a Tom Cruise movie just shows you that he is the last movie star. He is the last person that by name alone can get people to come to theaters. But I'm so excited about this movie coming out. I'm going to see it tonight as of this recording. I want to go back through this franchise and talk about the highs and the lows of it. Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movies have been going on since the 90s. As of the movie tonight, there will be 7 movies. It's had a lot of ups and downs, so I want to go through them all and talk about the best ones, the worst ones, the best moments, and the worst moments. So without further delay, let's get started. So the first Mission Impossible actually was pretty good. It was a very grounded action spy mystery movie. A lot of people criticized it because unlike the TV show it was based off of, Tom Cruise was the only protagonist. He didn't have a team around him, but I thought that he carried the film well and it was a good mystery. However, as grounded and as interesting as this film was, it went off the rails big time in the end. Tom Cruise is having the showdown with the main villain of the movie, and it's on a train, and you're like, okay, this is a little bit out there, but it's okay. But then it just gets crazy when they go through a tunnel on this train. There's a helicopter chasing them, and the helicopter decides, let's go through the tunnel as well. The helicopter transforms into CGI, and somehow the propellers are still perfectly matching through this tunnel. Now the big ticking clock is as Tom Cruise is fighting this villain, he has to avoid the propellers of this helicopter, and it inevitably crashes, and you kind of see it just almost cut through his throat. And of course, then after this pretty grounded and serious movie, we get some silly comedy where the train engineers just faint after what's happened. It was like this really grounded spy thriller movie, and then it really went off the rails in the end. I think that it's overall a good film, but they clearly hadn't hit their stride with this franchise yet. Unfortunately, the next film is what I think is the absolute, bar none, worst film in the Mission Impossible series, Mission Impossible 2. How do I get into what's wrong with this movie? The plot, the ridiculous action, Tom Cruise's hair. The plot of this movie is that Tom Cruise meets this woman, and within 2 minutes he becomes obsessed with her. But they're using this woman to get back with her ex-husband, who has this like weird cartoon villain plot about wanting to poison everybody. This is a really sexist, misogynist kind of guy she has to seduce. Unlike Tom Cruise, he respects women. That's why we see him with a different love interest in almost every film. I know that his name is Ethan Hunt in this series, but I'm just gonna call him Tom Cruise. But yeah, we got the horrible plot, we got the horrible hair, and we got a horrible action sequence in the end where we've got like jousting between motorcycles. It's a ridiculous movie, and it's got this like weird 2000s music that just closes it out. By the end, it was a very 2000s movie. Most people, I think, would like to forget this film. It is definitely the worst in the series by far. But they figured out where they were gonna go with Mission Impossible 3, which they came out swinging with an excellent opening with Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's just an excellent villain in the movie. Tom Cruise is back in the game with better hair, a better plot. It's not a perfect movie. In fact, there's one very ridiculous moment that I can't get out of my head to this day. Never mind, it's not ridiculous. This is cinema right here.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Can you imagine just being on a special covert ops mission and all of a sudden you're just like,
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Ridiculous stuff. But it's overall a good movie. I wasn't as into the plot of him trying to rescue his fiance, even though it made for a very good opening sequence. But the problem is, it seemed like they prematurely got him married off to this woman, but they didn't want to actually commit to it, which is why in the coming films you'll see that they just dissolve this marriage. But Ghost Protocol was supposed to be the last film of the Mission Impossible series, but that was when I think it really hit its stride and they saw what this series could be. They finally got a team officially around Tom Cruise. We always had Luther, and then Simon Pegg's character was introduced pretty early. This brought them together with Jeremy Renner, and finally the main criticism of the Mission Impossible series was addressed, and Tom Cruise finally had a team around him. Who could forget the great climbing sequence that goes on when Tom Cruise has to climb outside of the wall, which this movie is most famous for. I think that they really nailed it on the action and the chase sequences and on generally the characters here, even though the female lead was pretty weak. The main thing I have a problem with is the plot itself, like the big mission they're on, wasn't very memorable. I don't even remember it right now. I just remember how great the action and the characters were. But this movie convinced them to continue with this series, and they went over to what I consider to be the best Mission Impossible film, Rogue Nation. They fixed all of the criticisms with Ghost Protocol. They hired Rebecca Ferguson to play Ilsa Faust, probably the best female co-star in the Mission Impossible series. She is the strongest actress that they got by far. The plot is very memorable and the villain is very memorable. It gives the team its biggest challenge yet, and this This movie feels like everything is all together. Everything is firing on all cylinders. It has incredible action sequences, just one right after the other, with Tom Cruise having to hold his breath for over 6 minutes, moving over to this crazy car and motorcycle chase that just keeps going, and it just feels so exhilarating. It has one of my favorite movie moments in history. Take a look.
Do you have your seatbelt on?
Are you asking me that now?
Hang on!
Look at that. The car crashes. It flips over 1,000,000 times after it was going at top speed, but then they're fine. Not a scratch.
Ah, look out!
Gotta put a little humor in there. But hey, it works. Mission Impossible films actually have a bit of humor in them. And a little sappiness, but they know how to pull back on it. I think it all works really well. Then, as I said, it cuts into this motorcycle chase where they're going at top speed. If you watch my duel review, you'll know that when they film chase scenes, they actually don't have to go that fast in cars and motorcycles to make it look fast. But I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Cruise had this going at top speed. Then the motorcycle chase scene ends because Tom Cruise sees a woman and it makes him crash. Overall, best movie in the entire series. And then there was Mission Impossible Fallout, a movie perhaps most famous for that ending fight sequence and having Henry Cavill with a mustache being the villain of the film, and how that was part of the reason why Justice League got wrecked. I actually am not as into this one as other people are, even though I understand it. My favorite part of this film actually is the end, and how in order to get these crazy camera shots, they were actually willing to sacrifice the aspect ratio, because they had to use documentary cameras because they were the only ones that could capture these shots. But the aspect ratio could not be wide anymore, it had to be full screen. I love it when the aspect ratio just slowly changes to give us this full screen so we can see all the action. It's really amazing. And honestly, even though Mission Impossible 6, I have an unpopular opinion, it's not my favorite, I think that Mission Impossible 2 is the only film I would actually consider bad. If you haven't watched Mission Impossible movies, please do, and especially do so you can see Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning, because I think it's going to be great. I'll have a review for that up tomorrow. Please like, subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. Check out some more videos. Check out my own films that I'm practicing on if you like. And as always, if you like all my content, you can support me on Patreon. Thank you, Patreon J. Costs only $5 to sign up. And I will see you guys next time.